My name is Rachael Peterson. I'm a Master's of Divinity student at Harvard Divinity School and an environmentalist. Starting around age 12, I developed what we would call symptoms of major depression. Would just lay on my parents' floor, crying for days, and it seemed like my mind kind of just would stop the dance of the world with its stuckness. For many years, from ages 12 to 28 pretty much, I tried the standard treatment in our culture for depression. Many medications, mixes of medications, therapy, and some things helped me kind of function on a day-to-day level. And on the outside, often I had quite a bit of success in my career, but I was often just barely surviving, and nothing really touched this kind of deeper substrate of despair that I experienced. I was worthless, I was constantly worthless. I could just never register a sense of being loved or held, even though I was, that never connected for me. And then another way in which my depression operated is that I was constantly obsessed with the suffering of the world, constantly obsessed. And so, I think it was just very difficult for me to connect with any sense of hope or possibility or love because of the two ways that was kind of operating in my adolescent life. And growing increasingly desperate in my 20s for relief, I didn't really hesitate when a friend of mine, who was a medical student at Johns Hopkins, told me about the clinical trial to treat major depression using psychedelics. I had never done psychedelic drugs. I was way too afraid. So I didn't know what to expect when I enrolled in that clinical trial in 2018. The treatment was 2 high doses of psilocybin. I think the most memorable thing for me from the first experience I had was really feeling like becoming one with the natural world. But then I remember the music changed and it became quite ominous. And I had a thought of, all of this is being destroyed. We're losing this. And so I went through this incredibly intense, I just remember sobbing with an agony unknown in my waking life about kind of grieving all of this loss. And I remember asking out loud, to nothing in particular, but just asking what is there after this, right? What is there? What do we even do? What do we do with all this loss and pain? And that's when my kind of whole experience broke open. I had never experienced such a sense of being held by a kind of ineffable beyond in my life. And I remember just feeling like I just had permission to play and to experience joy. I remember after that first experience, someone in the trial kind of casually was like, "Do you still consider yourself an atheist?" And I was like, "Oh, why can I not answer? Why for the first time in my life am I reaching for a word like God?" Knowing that I was held by this beyond helped me hold my own suffering in a different way and hold other people's suffering in a different way. And so it was very humbling to, in my second experience, be confronted with something that was totally different from the first one. I had a very interesting experience of encountering people who had harmed people I love and people who had harmed me, and feeling this incredible amount of compassion for all of them. And I remember being a little angry because I was like, I don't want to feel compassion for these people who have hurt me or who have hurt people I loved. But I really just had this deep felt sense that at our core, we're all whole and unbroken. And the only way that we harm others is when we forget that wholeness and that unbrokenness. And I think for me, psychedelics have been an invitation to become who I am. My life has so much more richness now and so much more meaning. And I really feel like I've been changing the way I live. Yeah, some sadness came back, but it's not that sadness or that doubt or that inadequacy is smaller. It's that the space around it is so much bigger. In all of that, I can find a kind of divine okayness that I never sensed before. And what's interesting is people use the language of you need to integrate the experience into your life. But I kind of believe, no, you have to integrate your life into the experience. Like the experience showed you something true. So how do you live your life in accordance with that? What I say is that those experiences pointed me towards the trailhead of myself. And I had to walk to that trailhead and decide to walk down it. Through my psychedelic experiences and my spiritual practice, I've come to really believe in the power of nevertheless, right? So like, yeah, the world looks really dire right now. Nevertheless, it's worth living life. Every small moment you wake up and you smile at someone, or you say something that matters to them, that's what a life is. And so I think the trial, rather than being kind of a very simple silver bullet, has given me an invitation to inhabit a fullness of my humanity that I didn't have before. It was pretty life-changing.